streaming live. Full Velocity TV begins now.
And your source for esports racing is alive. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Full Velocity Racing Network live in Speedway, Indiana, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for a Tuesday night highlight showcase. The Hobo Racing Boys Trucking Cup Series here tonight in Indianapolis. It's going to be an awesome time, and it's live via Facebook Live, YouTube, and Twitch TV. Good evening, everybody. Phil Lacasse here, Blake McCandless alongside, and Jack June on the controls. Going to be an awesome night here. 64 laps around this famous 2.5-mile Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Blake, a place we have all made thousands of laps on. It's the old original game track. I am itching to get this thing started, partner. How the heck you doing?
Well, I'm doing great, Phil, and I agree with you. I think it's going to be a really interesting race. You got the original game tracks, the original banking, original grip. Tire temps are going to be really high tonight. We'll see how these guys tweak these setups and try to set their cars up for the short or the long run. It can change depending on if we get some long green flag runs or we're going to have a lot of restarts here. So a lot left to be decided, but I think it's going to be a really interesting night.
It certainly will. Going to be a great one for us. So before we get this thing started, what do you say we take this thing trackside? Let's pay honor to this great nation, especially this week here, with the playing of our national anthem. All right, the national anthem getting started here tonight on a very special night, as we all know what tomorrow is. If you were around 18 years ago to the day, we mourned the loss of over 3,000 people, and we're still grieving with their families 18 years later. I think we all remember where we were, and we pay homage to them, the fallen, here this week live on the Full Velocity Racing Network. But a great night to be out here in Speedway, Indiana. This track looks absolutely just stuff packed to the gills. A great field of cars on hand. I think I counted about 32, 33 cars in the pit area. Blake, we're going to have a lot of fun tonight. Let's try to do this old school style as they start gridding with our Voiles Trucking starting lineup.
It's going to be Caleb Lingle and Keith McLean starting in row number 1. He's going to be joined alongside Kevin Roy and Ricky Johnson. They'll take up row number 2 and 3rd and 4th, respectively. Jason San Diego, he'll roll off 5th with Ralph Pauly to his outside starting in 6th. 7th is going to be the number 73 of Herman Rice. Alongside him is in 8th KJ Kilojoules. And then rounding out the top 10 is going to be Rick Croddick and Jeff Stakness starting 9th and 10th.
Starting off 11th tonight, aboard car number 40, that is Gary Morton. Alongside the number 44, that's our buddy Beto, Danny Rubito. Next row back, we find Duke Sorensen, the 59. Steve Rubito aboard car 21. Let's go trackside for tonight's
drivers, Start your engines!
All right, command of fire engines has been given. Rolling off 15th tonight aboard car number 66. That is Brett Carter aboard the 66 car alongside in the number 78, the B-Dubs machine. Our old buddy Ryan Johnson rolling off 16th. 17th starter tonight aboard car number 25. That is Ron Simpson, the Snuggle Buddy alongside aboard car number 51. Todd's pal, Roger Nevillesick, rolling off 18th. And in row number 10, aboard car number 6, my buddy from up here in the northeast of Connecticut. That is Rich Knappich of the Harley-Davidson machine. And alongside the Two Guns Firearms, Two Guns Films, car number 37, Brendan Spadafora rolls off 20th.
21st is going to be the 13 of Harry Cody, and 22nd, the 710 of Manny D. 23rd is going to be that black 03 Chevrolet driven by Danny Hardy. 24th will be the 46, that's Bob Gidson. 25th rather, will be Clifton Ashley and his Pennzoil Ford. 26th will be Maverick. 27th, Randy Smith. 28th, Ryan Keller. And then 29th, Steve Grant. And rounding out the top 30 is going to be the 85 of Ricky Bumbelow.
And rounding out the field tonight, the number 17, Push Rod, that's Bob Becker. And alongside, rolling off 32nd tonight aboard the bright green Sundrop number 9. That is Jeff Fugate, a 32-car starting field. And we are happy as could be that you have decided to join your night here with us live on the Full Velocity Racing Network, your source for esports racing via Facebook Live and YouTube and Twitch TV this evening, as we are just about every night, which is just the middle of what is a very jam-packed week for us. You guys have not seen our full live schedule. We can head over to fullvelocitytv.com and check it all out. I got more to add there as this even gets underway as well, because we get the full schedule in from our friends over at DWRL. Sunday and Wednesday stuff coming, so we'll put that in the schedule as well. It's going to make it look even more crowded than it is here on a Tuesday night. Off of turn number 4, that Full Velocity Chevrolet Corvette pace car pulls its way onto pit road. The starter going to look over the field. Caleb Lingle, Keith McLean going to be your front row as that slow crawl down the front straightaway. Long stretch here at Indy with iRacing flag, green flag up in the air. We go racing Blake for the first time, headed down toward turn 1.
They'll head down towards turn 1. 9 degrees of banking await them as they will mostly go out single file here, at least through the top 4. Caleb Lingle able to crawl away with the lead here early on in the going, followed by Keith McLean, Ricky Johnson, Ralph Pauly, and then it seems like they've shuffled out around the top 10 as well. It's going to be Kevin Roy rounding out the top 5.
Yeah, Kevin Roy making his way around Jason San Diego's Dodge. Jason was good in practice. Keep an eye on that Dodge. Car number 22 currently rolling 6 as we head over to turn number 3. All single file. Don't really think we're going to see too much as far as double file, racing around here. Pretty tight little racetrack. Tough to pass. You're really going to take care of your stuff. And this has a tendency as a racetrack, as Blake was saying off here a little while ago. We can see a race where the cars get really stretched out, or we can see a race where they're all kind of on top of each other and kick out of each other's way. But we're green 1 lap in. Caleb Lingle, our pole sitter, he leaves Keith McLean 3 car lengths down off through turn 1.
Keith McLean will take it low off of corner number 1, but seems to give up a little bit of space to Caleb Lingle right there. Again, these guys battling a little bit of loose conditions more than likely as the tires continue to get heated up here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. What you want, though, is you want a car that can get off the corner here really well. It's hard to pass, and probably the primary way you're going to pass is if you get a good run off the corner, and you can use these long 3,300-foot straightaways to try and get a run with the draft and make your move.
Absolutely right. It is a long way around, 4 distinctly different corners, as well as maybe 1 and 3 are pretty much accurate. 2 and 4 are the same, but they are 4 unique corners. You can't charge each. You got to charge each of them kind of on its own. You can't use as we normally do, setting up through 1 and 2, 3 and 4. You got that little short shoot in between each straightaway or each turn, and that really is a unique thing about Indianapolis. Is we're 2 laps in, working lap number 3. Keith McLean trying to put the pressure on Caleb Lingle. Caleb doing a good job holding him off. Ricky Johnson's right there. How about the run for Ralph Pauly, qualified in the top 5? He continues to run 4th as we're in turn 3. But I think, Blake, we have a yellow flag for the first time on the Speedway.
Yes, trouble here on the back straightaway exiting turn number 2. I believe it was the 51 of Roger Nevillesick, and I believe I saw a black 03 that was involved in some carnage as well. Looking through the field, it looks like everything was so far so good. These guys were for the most part, single file and just trying to get their bearings around this Indianapolis Motor Speedway here in the first couple of laps. But it looks like with these guys trying to battle these loose conditions, this kind of air that's moving around here, it looks like somebody may have gotten loose there off the exit of corner number 2.
Yeah, I believe so. Is Jack going to give us a look at a BladeNode.com full velocity instant replay on our very first Hannibal Record Service caution flag of the night? It looks like Roger Nebelsick aboard car number 51. Looks like he just got a little tad bit loosey-goosey through the corner. I think Danny Hardy might have been there as well in the 03. Gets a little bit of touch from him in the front end. That may hurt the car. Then it was a little bit of pinball. Roger getting knocked around a little bit. A couple of different cars involved. I think I saw Rich Knapix, number 6, maybe take a little piece of that one. Manny Diaz in the 7-10 back there as well. So slow it down for the first time here tonight. Roger Nebelsick getting loose off the exit of turn number 2. First yellow flag of the night, and this is a place, Blake. It's a big, long racetrack. As you said, these long 3,300 feet straightaways, these tight, short, very low bank, 9 degrees through the corner. Aerodynamics plays a big role in a place like this, and I look at the back end of the 51, I look at the front end of the 03. Their aerodynamics are going to be completely destroyed to those cars. It's going to be a miserable night for those fellas the rest of the night.
Oh, no doubt about it, Phil. Any amount of damage you sustain here at a track like Indianapolis, where really speed is just such an important part of how you're running here. Of course, these guys running realistic damage here tonight, so that's not going to help factors at all if you're involved in an accident. And especially with these long straightaways, how much the draft comes into play, you're exactly right. Any amount of damage is going to slow you down these straightaways, and for what might be minor damage at another track, just a little bit of damage here may just put you out of contention.
It certainly could. We'll see if these drivers all come to pit road, can fix these race cars, especially the 51 there, who's got damage to all 4 corners of the race car, into the driver's door as well. I think Roger's car is going to take that hard beeline left down of the pit area. It looks like the Nebelsick machine going to be done for the night. So, unfortunately, our brother Todd Snuggle Buddy going to put the Snuggle machine behind the wall aboard car 51. 31 drivers took the green flag here this evening. I guess we were missing one there out the gate and just trying to figure out who that may have been. Just kind of taking a brief look through it. And did I not see? I believe it was number 9, Jeff Fugate, who's not out there with us. Jeff, I believe, is a multiple-time winner in the series this year, so Jeff not making the call for the start. So 31 drivers took the green flag here for 64 laps around. Going to be a great night, and very happy you've tuned in to see us here tonight. Glad to see the Hobo crowd, as usual. Sitting over in YouTube is the usual suspects. Judy and Barbara and Ann are over here. I see, I see Everett over here. That was Everett, or Steve Miller. I'm sure Joe will be out here shortly. I'm sure Bobby Farrell at some point. Oh, there he is. Jet Nation. Yep, Bobby Farrell's out there watching as well. So the usual suspects, Blake. And I know you've been here the last 3 races at Hobo. You're going to be here probably to bounce for the rest of the season, as we're back with these guys each and every week here for the bounce of the season. You're going to see a lot of familiar names. The Hobo family always treats us well here on a Tuesday night, but we got to be good, because if we're off our game at all, them ladies will be facetious to us, man. We always got to stay on the ladies' good side.
Oh, no doubt, Phil. Whenever you come over here to Hobo Racing, the expectations are really high, both on and off the track, and we're no exception to that up here in the booth. And it's going to be really exciting kind of see as this season winds down. Of course, this is the last race before the chase gets started here. They use a little bit of the older point system, so no knockout rounds here. We'll just kind of restart the season, if you will. I guess that's how the chase was initially described back when it was in first kind of put into the NASCAR ranks, and it'll just be really exciting to see these guys that have really competed all season long. You got a great mix up in the top 10 of the point standings between guys that have run up front, run a lot of races, and won a lot of races, but you also have a good mix in there of guys who have just been really consistent throughout the season, getting those top 5s and top 10s to put them into a position to compete in the chase. So it's going to be a really fun couple of weeks here as we continue to wind it down, but of course still have a lot of racing action left to go tonight here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
We sure do. Herman Reese comes in tonight as our series points leader. 4 wins on the season, leading 58 markers over Keela Julis. Keela's won 3 times over this season. Harry Codian, third of the standings. He is winless on the year. He sits 166 back of the leader. Randy Smith is 4th. Randy's a solo winner this year, but he's got the victory lane. And Jason San Diego rounding out the top 5 of the point standings. 370 markers back, which seems like a lot, but in the old school, point system we had here years ago, Blake, in the late 90s, early 90s, whatnot, before the whole chase scenarios all came in. 370 points may feel like a lot, but really, if those guys ahead of him have 2 bad races and Jason can finish well, he'll find himself right back in the thralls of racing for a championship.
Oh, no doubt about it, Phil. If you can think back to that point system, you got about 185, 190 points just about for winning a race. Obviously, you get the 5 bonus points for leading a lap, and sometimes you would get an extra 5 for leading the most. So you got to think back to that as well, and you also have to think as you move further down the field, the way the old point system worked is if about 20th on back, the points started separating from about 5 points per position to only about 3 points per position. So finishing in the back didn't hurt you as much as it did today because every position matters equally now in the, I guess you would call it, updated point system that many of the leagues around this NR 2003 community as well as NASCAR uses. So for some of these guys that have bad races, this kind of older point system can be a little bit of a crutch and something that'll help you a little bit more than if you were running under the new system.
Absolutely right. It is the great equalizer here with this new system. It kind of keeps a lot of great leagues all bunched up together. Can do a lot of great things. I know to playoff time in a lot of leagues. We're approaching one at our place. We're here at Hobo, playoffs a week away to FTF getting started. All these great leagues out there to follow this new way format. It's getting down to that part of the season here where it's crunch time to make your way into a round for the championship. And we'll follow as many of these great leagues as we can here. Definitely here at Hobo every Tuesday night as lights stay out around the Speedway. Want to invite you guys. You haven't done so already, guys and gals out there at Hobo. You haven't done so yet. Well, you're going to check out our great presenting sponsor here tonight. Of course, that is Brian and Kathy Boyles of Boyles Trucking. Doing commercial freight transfers, truck leasing. There is no job too big or too small. Check them out today on Facebook, Boyles Trucking. Shoot them a message and tell Brian and Kathy thank you so much for what they do for not only us here at Full Velocity, but this entire NR 2003 and sim racing community as well. They've even gone out to iRacing and done some stuff with us. So they've done a whole lot. Thank Brian and Kathy, enough great people. No, Brian's over there now is the reboot of Bomb Squad Racing going well for those fellows over there. I think we may even see them before the end of this season. We've been talking about maybe doing a race with them, so I guess I'll have to wait and see. But once again, thank Brian and Kathy Boyles. Great people. Take care of them, and visit them today on Facebook, Boyles Trucking. You'll be glad you do.
No doubt about that. And again, it looks like the lights are off of that Full Velocity Racing Network pace car out there. Caleb Lingle looks like he'll lead us to green. Another thing that we'll at least mention before we get going back under the green flag here is that fuel mileage tends to be pretty important here at a track like Indianapolis. You think of all the 2.5 mile tracks around the NASCAR circuit where fuel mileage comes into play. It's no different here at Indianapolis. I actually just put on the track just to see what the fuel window looks like for these guys, and it looks like it'll be between anywhere from 19 to 21 laps is how far these guys can go on fuel. So if you look at that lap count, 64, you can do the math with us as we continue to go along here tonight.
Absolutely right. I think from here, realistically, if we were to go green, you could probably dupe us on maybe 2 pit stops. So that's even saving a little bit to get to the distance. We'll have to wait and see if we can get a green flag run from here to the end. We're going to cheer for that because I want to see the gang at Hobo put on a great race off of turn number 4. All right, race the guy flag. Green flag rolls back from the Speedway. Caleb Lingle, Keith McLean, Ricky Johnson, Ralph Pauly, and Jason San Diego on a single file restart. They march down off into turn 1.
Everybody single file as they are off of the restart. Again, single file restarts here at Hobo Racing will help these guys fan out a little bit easier and kind of clean things up. Right now, the battle is for that 4th spot between Pauly and San Diego. Exit off of turn number 2. San Diego pulling right back up to the bumper of that 61 Navy Dodge, trying to get as much draft as they head into turn number 3. He'll dive it in a little bit harder, has to check up. He'll lose a little bit of momentum here in the south chute as they continue to chase the leader. Caleb Caleb Lingle through 4.
Yeah, they stay single file, but that race, as Blake said, is on for position number 4 between Ralph Pauly and that Navy Chevrolet car number 61, Jason San Diego's Dodge number 22, right in there behind. They'll work single file past the start-finish line, complete lap number 9 of 64 here tonight. All single file. Blake, I have my eye on that black and yellow car right behind those two. OKJ, Kilojoules, second of the points, 3-time winner. He is up to 6, so that car looks awfully sporty as we hit off the exit of turn 2.
It certainly does, and what a move up from 8th already on lap number 1, as that's where he's qualified, already looking to try and get into the top 5 here and pass a similarly looking car right in front of him. Of course, Jason San Diego in that 22 Dodge hanging on to P5 right now, but KJ looking to pounce as Jason San Diego look to the inside of Pauly. He's going to lose a little bit of momentum here off of turn number 4. Let's see if KJ Kilojoules can take advantage of that. It looks like he has to check up a little bit off the corner. The one thing the 029 has to be cognizant of is you want to stay in this draft that the top 8 is created here. Don't want to lose it by these guys battling. Again, San Diego looking to the inside of the 61.
Yeah, they work off turn number 2, 61 up the racetrack. Jason slides it in really deep off at 2. I don't know if he clipped the apron or not there, but they shot at the racetrack, almost made contact with the left rear of the 61. Really checked up a 22 car. Now it's going to let KJ at 29. He may take a peek to the low side entering 3, or maybe not. Rolls off there, braking really early, and that's one of the unique things here about Indy, Blake. You got some guys who will really back up that corner through 1 and 3, really roll it through the chute, and then really get back on it through the exit of 2 and 4. You got some guys out there that really charge down to 1 and 3. Two unique styles, they both can work. Who do you think it's going to favor in the long run?
Well, I think it favors guys that back up the corner, but the biggest thing you want here at Indy is Jason San Diego. He'll make the move to the inside. Pauly's going to surrender it to him. How about KJ? He's going to look to take over P5, and he'll do it as Pauly pulls over and lets them both by. But the biggest thing I was going to mention, Phil, is that momentum is the name of the game. We saw a little bit earlier, Jason San Diego had to check up just a little bit for Pauly there mid-corner. You both lose a lot of speed if you're having to check up just a little bit. I know we've heard it talked about with kind of the new aero package in NASCAR this year, that momentum is so important. And of course, here at a track like this where you're wide open and a lot of draft comes into play, you don't want to check up and lose all that speed down these long straightaways.
No, you're absolutely right. We talk about the cup physics here in NR 2003 as well. Always something you've really had to keep momentum up in these race cars. So momentum being gained right now by Herman Reese's number 73. Ralph Pauly, you know if he got the tires hot or maybe pooped himself when that Caleb put that really big move down to the bottom, but Ralph Pauly dropping now back to the 7th position. There is a Herman Reese going to work his way by. Now it's Rick Craddock in the number 20, pulls to the back of the 61, racing in the back part of the top 10, heading down toward turn 3.
Yeah, they're getting a little bit dicey here in the top 10. There's going to be a move and a change for 5th place as KJ Kilojoules, he'll move by and take over number 4. He'll move by Jason San Diego in that 22 Dodge, looking to kind of hang on to the draft of that top 3 that have started to pull away by just a bit. You want to stay within a second to try and maintain that draft. We'll see the margin across the line from Ricky Johnson to KJ. It's going to be just under a second. So if you're the 029, you're going to be digging here, even if you have to waste those tires these next couple of laps, because if you can catch that draft of the top 3, it is so important, especially if we get a long run.
Well, the great news is for KJ there, Blake, he's got 2 teammates up ahead with Ricky Johnson and Keith McLean. So it's not unforeseen to have a guy up in front of you give you a break here, maybe crack his throttle a little bit, let you get a sniff of that draft. So we'll see if KJ can run down those top 3 as we work lap number 13. Jason San Diego now back to the 5th spot. Herman Reese up to 6th. Rick Craddock now, he up to 7th. Harry Cody has worked his way up to 8th. Ralph Pauly is dropped back to 9th, and his quest isn't done yet because here comes Jeff Stacanis with number 31. He's going to look to the outside of that 61 car down off into turn 1.
Well, Pauly trying to play a little bit smart here, take away some of that draft from that number 31 Mopar Dodge that's directly behind him of Jake Stakens. And of course, Stakens not close enough to anybody in that pack in front of him that he can really sniff the draft off of them. So he's going to have to kind of follow Pauly here. If Pauly's going to make kind of a snake maneuver, he doesn't do it too much that time down the back straightaway. But if you're Stakens, you want to stay right in his wake and try to catch a race car that seems like it's ailing here lately. I guess the handling going away from that Navy Dodge.
Yeah, it certainly is, and I'm not sure if it maybe grazed the wall there through the chutes. I don't believe so, but 61 has definitely lost a little bit of speed. Not sure if he upset the tires, and it's really tough to throw it outside here. If you overdrive that thing on the outside, you can really ruin a right front tire. Makes it really miserable to do here, and I believe that's all in the way you drive it. Also, in stuff they can do on the setup with the 61 car as well. So tires are definitely going to play a big key here. So far, so good up front for Caleb Lingle. He has just pulled Keith McLean around the speedway. It sits equally 2 car lengths, 3 car lengths back to Ricky Johnson. Top 3 look very comfortable up front right now.
And I think Ricky Johnson here, we saw him do a little bit of this a couple of weeks ago at Michigan, or excuse me, it wasn't Michigan, it was Auto Club. Hanging onto the front pack, just making sure he's taking care of his tires, staying within the draft. And I think that's really the way you have to do it here. Let those guys up front run off your tires. Don't lose their draft, but make sure that when you come to the end of a long run here, that you're able to keep up with those guys. It's going to be especially important once we come up here on green flag stops, that if you can exit pit road, that you have draft and people around you, because that'll help your speed a lot as you try to make up some ground on some of these guys that exit pit road and maybe don't have that draft.
Sure do, but Blake, we look up front, and that top 3 is now turned into a 4-car breakaway as KJ has run down the back of Ricky Johnson's Voiles trucking forward, and now we may have a race for third, as I thought for a second the 193 may pull over, let KJ get the run on through, and he does have a run through 3 and 4. Maybe is this the corner? There's KJ right now running fourth, that he may have a make for third. He may have a piece that run his way all the way up to the race lead. There's that battle off of turn number 4. Kilojoules up the third off the corner.
Well, unfortunately for Ricky Johnson, he surrenders the third position, but in doing that, he gets into the outside wall off of 4. That's going to cost him a lot of time here down the front straightaway, but that last time before this lap, Kilojoules was 3 4/10 faster than the cars running 1 and 2. So that 029 Chevrolet is booking it around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. He's done it without that much draft, so don't be surprised here in the next couple of laps if that 029 is going to be battling for the lead here momentarily.
Would not shock me whatsoever. Also, Herman Reese, number 73, he has brought his way into the top 5. Jason San Diego, who is currently up there, he sits now in position number 8. He has dropped a little bit off the pace as Rick Craddock and Harry Codian have also made their way around that number 22. So stuff happening in the back part of the top 10. Some early comers or goers here. A guy like Steve Grant, who was really, really quick in practice, Blake, and I think in quick time in practice, sits now in position number 12 aboard car number 11. And he's starting to run down the back of the 40 car. That is racing for the 11th spot down off at turn 3.
And Steve Grant a 10th faster that last click by of the car that sits right in front of him, the 40 of Gary Morin. And as you mentioned, a guy that had a lot of speed in practice. We'll see if he's able to make it work here as he continues to make his way through the field. Steve Grant has Kevin Roy right behind him. He's fallen back to the 13th position. But then if you look back behind them, several seconds, or maybe about a second or so back to that 66 car of Brett Carter. He's got one guy behind him. That's the 59 of Sorensen.
Absolutely, and Sorensen back there, Duke having a good run to 22. Jason San Diego, not sure if you cut a right front tire down in the middle of 3 and 4, but he has dropped down to the access road at 22. Dodge going to make its way pit side, a guy who was running up in the top 5. Tires may eventually give it up. Keep in mind, Blake, that early yellow flag, majority of these guys up front have not come to pit road, so this may be in their fuel window. 19 laps in, this may start a trend for our guys running up front.
Well, and I'll follow Jason San Diego here on pit road. Heavy damage, and indeed you're right, Phil. He was in turn number 3 when that right front Goodyear Eagle gave way, and unfortunately here at Indianapolis, not a lot of banking to slow you down before you hit that outside retaining wall. Heavy damage on the right side of that 22 Dodge. He'll pull it in here to pit road and take service. Unfortunately, the green flag is still out because everybody was able to avoid him. There was no spin on the track. So Jason San Diego, an early favorite, is losing a ton of time, and that is a severely damaged 22 Dodge that he's going to have to deal with now.
Yeah, sure is. Probably going to have to repair some of the damage on that right front for sure. Get the tire all clear. He'll definitely lose some time, as I was expecting more drivers down on pit road next time by, and I didn't see anybody up in the top 10 as takers. So what we think may be a fuel window opening for these drivers here soon, well, I guess they made a liar out of us for the most part as we look back here and check up now. The number 73 of Herman Reese, he has made his way on the pit road. He will out of position number 5. He is joined by Ralph Pauly on pit road as well. So we look down there, 4 tires to the number 73. Herman's Cadillac is down and away. Same deal on the 61 of Pauly. 4 tire work. Left sides are down. Those guys are down and away as well.
And again, we're getting some more action on pit road. Some of our leaders coming in. The 113 of Caleb Lingle, he'll surrender the lead, and the 029 will follow him in as well. Keith McLean and Ricky Johnson elect to stay out. But again, these guys that are short pitting just a little bit, trying to make up about a second of time, which is about the tire fall off here. So trying to make up some of that time by pitting just a little bit early. Unfortunately for the 029, he overshoots his pit stall just a little bit. He has to put it in reverse, and there's a lot of time that he just lost as they finally made it around to the right side of that Chevrolet. So the 029 made up a lot of time on the track, but if he loses that draft of the 113, it may be all for naught as they're going to exit pit road.
Yeah, sure does. Caleb has a really good, perfect stop, and look at the gap between himself and KJ leaving pit road. It's well over 1/4 from there. So Caleb, it has just have had a catastrophe happen aboard that number 029. We look back toward pit road here, and I thought I saw the 193 off the bank, and guess he did. Ricky Johnson is in, I believe, also just ahead of him was Keith McLean's Texaco Haviland number 28, so they'll pit the PPR2 team out of the race lead. Let's see what the work is going to be. I'll throw it on you first. I think you're down closer to the Ricky Johnson pit there, Blake.
Well, luckily from where I'm sitting, I can see both of these guys right here, Keith McLean and Ricky Johnson. Johnson overshoots his pit stall. He'll have to back up a little bit. And again, that's precious seconds that both he and the 029 are going to use for fresh tires and Sunoco fuel going into both of these cars. As Keith McLean, you'll see the gap that he'll put on Ricky Johnson after that pit road miscue. Keith McLean, he'll exit pit road, and Ricky Johnson several seconds behind now as he lost some precious time there on pit road. We'll see if he can make it up here exiting on the apron, but again, that's a lot of time lost whenever you overshoot your pit stall here.
Oh man, that absolutely is, and I'm guilty. I do it all the time, and I'm not a front runner like a lot of these guys are, so absolutely feel bad for those fellas. As mistakes on pit road. Looking down here, well, Kurt Racing the last time around was the 40 of Gary Morton. I got to think maybe the 40 car was one of those drivers who came into pit road under our early yellow flag, the only one of the night, because he leads over Duke Sorensen. Steve Rubino now up to the 3rd spot. Clifton Ashley and Maverick. Chris Rogers number 23. Maverick up in the top 5. So you got to wonder, Blake, and you're probably going to confirm, I believe these are all drivers now that came in and topped off and put tires on under our first caution flag. 2 different strategies so far playing out, and Avis played to their hand because yellow flag on the racetrack. Yellow number 2 on lap number 23. The complexion of this race may have just completely changed upside down for some of these fellas.
Well, unfortunately, Phil, I think that's going to be what a lot of these guys who stayed out did not want to see. If you think back to that restart, it was about lap 8 that we restarted. Several of those guys had probably run off about 5 or 6 laps of fuel. Again, looking at the fuel window, it was anywhere between 19 and 21 laps. Well, we have 41 laps to go still in this thing. So if you were some of these drivers that stayed out, like Gary Morin and the 59, the 21, the 23, some of these guys were set up very well to be able to make it on just 2 more stops the rest of this race, whereas some of our leaders, guys like Keith McLean, Caleb Lingle, Ricky Johnson, may have been forced to pit an extra time because they weren't able to go the rest of the distance on the fuel that they had. So this is a big change in this race.
Absolutely right. As Jack has found what has happened to put us under yellow at BladeNo.com, full velocity instant replay, and I've got to find it. The 61 car of Ralph Pauly and the 73 of Herman Reese, 2 gentlemen who just on pit road together. They get together. Yellow flag comes out on the racetrack. It's going to allow all 18 of these drivers that stayed out there, Blake. They will come down to pit road. They'll stay in that track position. Also, guys like McLean and Ricky Johnson, Caleb Lingle, those guys had decent enough pit stops to stay in the lead lap. The opposite can be said for guys like Steve Grant and Keela Jules. You know, Herman Reese, unfortunately, in that contact, they're going to be trapped 1 lap down, but they have the chance here if they elect to do so. They may get a wave around to get back to the lead lap. Something I think you know a little bit something about taking wave rounds and rebounding to a good finish later.
Well, no doubt that a wave around is going to be the call here. You're pretty much forced to do it because of how difficult it is here to pass and how hard it would be to get back up and try to race your way back onto the lead lap, especially if you're a car like Herman Reese right here, who sustained a lot of damage here in that accident. It looked like off the exit of corner number 2. One thing that is often not mentioned here about the Indianapolis Motor Speedway is the almost entirely flat apron that you have here to try and exit back up onto the track. Of course, these guys have to go through turns 1 and 2 beneath the white line and through that kind of access way onto the racetrack. And of course, you can see there on your screen, there's a little bit of grass right there in turns 1 and 2. And unfortunately for the 029, he got his right sides up into that grass just a little bit. He lost control of his race car, and unfortunately for Herman Rice, nowhere he could go, nothing he can do. He runs right into the back of him, and he'll sustain heavy damage on his Cadillac. So an unfortunate circumstance there, but that is one thing that is often not talked about here in Indianapolis, is how tricky just getting off of pit road can be.
Absolutely right. I mean, we talk about putting rubber down on the racetrack. Well, they do that on the racing surface there, but we don't do that on the access road. That thing is really slickery. You know, all the debris that comes off of tires, it all makes its way down there. You get that stuff on there. It's already slick to begin with. You add that grass in there. There's really not grip on grass when you put a race car tire on it. So, yeah, it is definitely tricky to come off pit road. I've been guilty of that more times than not. I'm sure you've done it a time or two over the years too, Blake. Indianapolis, one of the more tricky places to get on and off pit road, and we're seeing some of the hijinks of these fellow drivers out there tonight as we work under our second yellow flag of the night. 25 laps of 64 on the board. Rich Knappich scored our race leader last time by over Gary Morin, Randy Smith, Duke Sorensen, Steve Rubino currently in the top 5 with Harry Codian doing a great job. He's running up in 6th. Kevin Roy for 7th. Brett Carter runs 8th. And it is Caleb Lingle, our pole sitter. He runs in a nice spot and running up the top 10. Keith McLean aboard the driver of the car 28. So you would think advantage to the 113 and to Keith McLean's 28 car. Also Ricky Johnson. They've all come to pit road versus the drivers up front, like now Rich and Gary. Those guys making their way onto the pit road. They're going to be back in the back part of the lead lap versus guys like the 113 and the 193, the 28. They're going to regain all that track position they lost when they came in and got trapped by that yellow flag. So big break for a lot of those guys.
Well, big break for a lot of those guys, and I think for most of this field, this ensures that they'll be able to make it on one more stop. But Phil, you're exactly right. There has been one instance where it was I can remember as clear as day. It was a truck race back at Blazing Pedals where I did the same thing, got the right sides into the grass and came back up onto the track, caused a yellow flag, didn't hit anybody, but still spun it out. What makes it so difficult is not only the grass and not only the fact that it's flat, but if you can get off of pit road well, if you can find a way to kind of hit the inside of the exit of turn 1, drift out in the north chute, and then get right back down to the bottom and get a nice exit off of turn number 2, there is a lot of time to be gained if you're able to get off of pit road really well. So that's what makes it really difficult, is there's a big gap in guys that if you have to check up or if you get a little bit loose on the apron, you lose a lot of time. And if you hit it just right, it can make a huge difference when you finally get back onto the racetrack.
Absolutely right. And I think I recall that same BP race there in the trucks there, Blake. And if I recall, after your spin, I think you were up there competing for a win before that one was out. I think you were up in the top 3.
Well, hopefully so, but I can't remember that far back. I remember the incident, can't really remember where I finished in that race. I guess that probably means I didn't end up winning the thing. But yeah, it just shows you how difficult it can be. And of course, with these guys running open setups and cup physics, I'm sure it's even more difficult to try to get around pit road exit safely. But we'll see what these guys do. These guys that just came off of pit road, obviously they can make it on one more stop. We'll see if there's any more takers that want to top off before we get the one to go here, I believe, before we get this thing back under the green flag. So we'll see how many guys are willing to come back down pit road.
Well, I think Randy Smith is one of those right now, but I do not believe the 10 car had yet come to pit road in this sequence. So the Hard Rock Cafe Pontiac car number 10 Speedland machine there for Randy Smith. He's going to get his service of 4 tires on, so he's going to surrender the race lead. And I believe is it going to be the 13 of Harry Codian? Is he going to be the control car? We go back to green here. Looks like he may be the first of the drivers that are leading this field, but there's a couple ahead of him. Looks like as many as 3 to 4 that may be potentially taking a wave around. They include Ricky Bumbalo, Also, Jason San Diego, Jeff Stakanis, Bob Gibson's number 46, Steve Grant in the 11, Rick Craddock in the 40, or 20 car. We've had 6 drivers take the wave around, so maybe those nights for those drivers maybe not lost after all. But the bad news is for guys like KJ and Danny Rubino, Brendan Spataforte, Herman Reese, they're still going to be trapped like one lap down. And if this race has a tendency to maybe make a long green flag run, that may have just destroyed the night for some of those guys.
Well, you just got to hope if you're one of those guys that you're able to race to the front of that lap and somehow get lucky enough to where you're awarded the lucky dog. But I think for a lot of these guys that ended up staying out, you have to imagine that a lot of them had just come off of pit road. A lot of these guys taking the wave around had pit 1 or 2 laps before the caution flag flew. So not too much of a detriment in terms of tire wear, but it's going to be a detriment in track position, which we all know is so important here at Indianapolis. And you also have to think about fuel mileage being important. And if these guys maybe pit 3 or 4 laps ago, they're wasting another lap here kind of driving around the circuit of fuel to get back up for this restart. So some of those guys that take the wave around, they kind of have to do it. They're forced to, because if you don't, well, you're going to be trapped a lap down for perhaps the rest of this race, but it also puts you in a spot where fuel mileage can be a concern.
Absolutely right. And we got a couple of stories there to follow as we come off turn number 4. Chevrolet Corvette pace car onto pit road, and the starter going to look over the field as our race leader, Harry Codian, going to lead the field back to the I-Race. The guy flag, green flag, it goes up in the air with Kevin Roy, Brett Carter, Gary Moore, and Duke Sorensen. That's a new look to the top 5, and that's how we'll take it. Like single file restart, the field is down in turn 1.
Single file again makes it difficult to pass as we go into turn number 1, pretty much as we restarted. But again, a new look to really the entire top 10. You think about guys like Danny Hardy that are sitting in the top 10. We thought he was severely damaged and he could be out of this thing. He's running in the top 10. Caleb Lingle right outside the top 10 right now, but he's just going to have to pick his spots and pick exactly when to pass in a good spot, because track position, as we know, is so important. You don't want to let those leaders get too far out and lose their draft, and that'll put you in a tight spot.
Certainly will, as we get a race going on up here for, looks like around positions number 3 and 4 is the 66 of Brett Carter. He slid up the racetrack, allowed the 59 of Duke Sorensen to go around. So Duke having a great run out here in Indy in the first half of this race. 59 Chevrolet now up in position number 4, off down to turn number 1. Carter going to slide back to 5th. You got Maverick there in the 6th spot with Steve Rubino, Clifton Ashley, Ron Simpson, and Danny Hardy. As you said, the 03 has rebounded back in the top 10, so maybe his car no worse for the wear. Maybe he can make a run back up to the front here. A guy who has won so many races over these years. Look at that GM Goodwrench Chevrolet peeking down to the low side. A drag race underneath up ahead of Ron Simpson. That's a race for 9th over in turn 3.
Well, Caleb Lingle tried to give the 0-3 some momentum down the back straightaway. Unfortunately, that forces Hardy to go into the corner a little bit hard. He's able to collect it, though. No harm, too much harm done there as they'll exit turn number 4. You saw Lingle was trying to provide draft to that 0-3. He thinks he's faster than the 25. So if the 0-3 is able to get alongside, well, you can kind of move the air a little bit here, so to speak. And that 113 may try to do it again. If Hardy can get a run here off of turn number 2 to get around that 25, don't be surprised if Lingle's going to try to draft Hardy from behind to try to move him in front of that 25 car.
Yeah, now Simpson going to pull over. He's going to let Danny go around. And I was going to ask you how the front end may be handling on that 03 after damage early on, but they make their way around the 25. And here comes Caleb Lingle. He's going to look alongside of Hardy. And look at the push he's getting from Keith McLean. So they shoot up the racetrack. That's a big spot there. That's changed for the nice spot over in turn 3.
Yes, these two guys trying to get back to the front and trying to ensure that they can get back in that draft. Lingle gets a little bit loose off of 4. It causes a checkup for McLean. They both kind of skid the outside wall. No harm, no foul, though, as they'll continue going. But for Caleb Lingle right now, you look at the distance between him and the number 4 Pennzoil Ford of Clifton Ashley, just at about a second. So they're right in that window where they really have to push it to try and catch a draft. Lingle off of 2, sliding around again, and now McLean's going to try to go to the bottom.
Wow, that 113 looks angry off of turn number 2. That back end really kicked out. Think he may have touched the outside wall a touch. Allows Keith McLean to go to the inside. So put the Texaco Haviland machine up down to the 9th spot. Off of the turns number 3 and 4. But Blake, I'm going to ask you this question here. You got those 2 drivers right there that were the class of the field early on. They led the majority of the laps here in the first 25 or so laps. You look up at the scoreboard right now, you see them running 9th and 10th. They're almost 4 seconds behind the race leader. They have great race cars. Are they feeling any urgency right now coming toward halfway? Do they have to overdrive their race cars? Do they risk overdriving and maybe ruining a good race car by trying to overcome what is a close out of a 4-second deficit?
Well, I think you could get concerned about that, but the last time by on the speed chart, you see that Keith McLean ran down our leader, Harry Codian, by about 1/10 of a second. He is picking up that draft that we thought he may lose off the bumper of Clifton Ashley, so it looks like he's making up time just fine. And if I were the driver of the 28, seeing that I'm gaining a little bit on the leaders rather than just staying where I am, I wouldn't be too concerned about it. If there's ever a point, though, where Harry Codian starts to pull away from me, that's when I would start to worry about it.
Yeah, and I'll be really happy right now if I get that 13 car because he looks really fast out there with the race lead. How about Kevin Roy? Kevin having one of his best runs of the season, running in the second spot, but race going on up ahead of that number 28 car, Steve Rubino and Clifton Ashley. They flip-flop positions, putting now the 4 car up to the 7th spot. Steve Rubino going to drop back to 8th, so does a 4 car have some speed to left under that thing? Is Steve Rubino beginning to struggle? He may hold on because Keith McLean and Danny Hardy, they're to the inside of that 21 car headed down to turn 3.
And there you see it, Caleb Lingle trying to provide some draft to the 0-3. It works. He's going to lose 3 spots into turn 3 as Hardy, Lingle, and Johnson all take advantage and pounce on that as Rubino continuing to drift back in this field. So move those guys up 1 spot. Again, that battle in front of them continues between Keith McLean and Clifton Ashley as they are starting to lose sight of our leaders. That last time by, Keith McLean didn't really gain anything on the leaders, so this is where that track position comes into play. Trying to get by some of that traffic that was behind you earlier in the race can slow you down a bit, but now he'll have some clean air in front of him as Clifton Ashley will surrender the 6th spot to Keith McLean.
Absolutely right. That Keith McLean, number 28, is the car on the move right now, up down to position 7. He is Maverick up ahead, who about 1.5 seconds away, so it's going to have to take a really good charge for a 28 to get a sniff off the back of the 23, but you can see it there. The racetrack is closing. 28 is definitely a little bit quicker than that 23 car. Can he overcome this whole 3-second deficit? It's going to be under 3 seconds this time, I got to imagine. Let's see what the interval is as we hit the start-finish line here. Harry Codian's at the line. Keith McLean is going to be scored 2.9, so picks up about a 0.5 of a second, Blake. So not a big gain, but by the naked eye, 28 car is one of the fastest cars on the racetrack.
No doubt about it, but right now Codian starting to become under assault here on the back straightaway. Kevin Roy in that Coors Light Ford going to try to make a move here to the inside of turn number 3. They'll go in side by side. We'll see if anybody gives, and Codian makes it work on the high side. He dives that Chevrolet into turn number 3, drives it in hard, and he'll retain the lead. This is only helping those guys catch the leaders, but right now Kevin Roy, he wants to hold the top spot at Indianapolis.
He certainly does, and they had picked up almost 1 full second over Gary Moore in the number 40 car, but those 2 drivers racing for the lead, that's what the 40 car right into the fight. He was about 15 car lengths back. It's down to about 2, so Gary Moore and also Duke Sorensen, what was a 2-car breakaway up front, may have just turned a 5 or 6, and that's going to let guys like a 28 car run them back down because it was 2.9. It is now just 2.2 seconds, Blake, so racing for the lead may bring the entire field there from about first all the way back to about 6th or 7th, right back into the running up front for this thing.
It always makes you wonder if you're a guy that's sitting in a position like Kevin Roy, like Gary Morin, it would probably be to your benefit to try and stay in line, try to work together and make those guys really work to catch back up to you. But of course, race car drivers, they're going to want to go up there and challenge and be the guy that's leading this field. And Kevin Roy, Gary Morin, and how about a couple of other guys that have kind of kept their track position and are having good runs tonight. The 59 of Sorensen, Brett Carter, Maverick, several guys running up at the top of this field trying to battle and duke each other out. They're having some great runs, but they all want to be a part of this thing.
They really do, and it's been a really good race so far. 37 laps of 64 on the board. The race leader was Harry Codian. As they catch lap traffic there down the straightaway, I believe that was, who was that there flashing by?
710.
Like 710 of Manny Diaz. Thought I saw 10 on that thing. Manny D in the 710 going another lap down back there. Manny having a struggle tonight back there. Looks like in about, I want to say about 30th position as I get down there and look. 29th on the racetrack there. Two drivers out of the race include Roger Nebelsick and Ryan Johnson's number 78. So we have 29 left on the racetrack, and 23 of them sit on the lead lap, all chasing the race leader, Harry Codian, who now sits single file in front of Kevin Roy, Gary Morin. A little bit of gap back, 1 second to Duke Sorensen and Brett Carter, Maverick, Keith McLean, Danny Hardy, Caleb Lingo, and Ricky Johnson make up your top 10 as we're about 2/3 the way home. 38 of 64 laps on the board.
And again, these guys trying to make some moves here. Kevin Roy still trying to peek to the inside, but here comes Keith McLean as he'll make a move down to the bottom and easily pass the 66 of Brett Carter, move that 28 machine up into the 4th spot as he also made easy work of the 23 of Maverick. He has his sights set on that 59 Chevrolet of Sorensen as he has a huge run coming down the front straightaway.
Oh, man, does he ever. Man alive, that 28 car as we work down to turn number 1 here. This race for third may be picking up as we're going to look for the 28 to maybe chase down the back of the 59 of Sorensen down off at a turn number 2. Stay single file. We're going to slow it down, Blake. Yellow lights on around the speedway. Yellow, yellow, yellow for the third time on lap number 39. Bring the Hanover record back on the speedway because we have some problems. I think off of turn number 4 I may have saw something break over there. I saw the 17 of Bob Beckerell push rod around. I thought somebody else there looks like maybe doing some barrel rolls over there as well. So, oh man, we got a big wreck off of turn number 4. Third yellow flag of the night interrupts a really good green flag run, but there was a couple of drivers all tore up, and I think the 17 and the 46 of Bob Gibson, they had a pretty wild ride that Jack will show us off here on a BladeNote.com instant replay.
You know, we'll certainly get to...
Or maybe we won't see the replay.
Oh, we'll give you a recap here as Pushrod looks like he got into the outside retaining wall off of turn number 3. It got that car a little bit loose, and actually one unique thing about this game original track, it's the only one with safer barriers. He hits the edge of that. It spins him out all the way into turn number 4. And then, of course, the 46 of Bob Gibson, nowhere for him to go. He pounds him in the rear of that race car, and both cars spinning to the inside of turn 4. They're the only two involved, but heavy damage sustained on the 17 Ford and that Gibson Dodge running into turn number 4. So caution flag out for, how about this, Phil, just the third time here as we're approaching lap 40. These guys are doing a solid job so far of keeping things clean, having a good race here tonight. And how about Harry Codian, who throughout that run was able to maintain that lead despite some great challenges from Kevin Roy.
Yeah, we look back here, Blake, as we're under the yellow flag. This may be a break for KJ, number 29, Field of Jules. I think he is going to be the car position to get the wave around back on the lead lap. So a big break for him, and that may allow him to chase down Nemesis from Reese. Those two drivers sitting atop the point sitting. They were both going to lap down 58 points back now for 23 versus 73. Still hurt some damage out there for a heck of a while ago. So the point scenario here is the end of the final race of the regular season. The overall regular season may be wide open now with KJ getting back to the lead lap.
It certainly may be, and these guys will dive it down on the pit road. We'll see who can maintain their track position, who can get some spots. Here on the pit road, we'll follow along with our leader, Harry Codian. Looks like the right side's up in the air. His F's will follow. 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles, and I'm sure 2 full cans of Sunoco fuel going into that 13 Chevrolet. It looks like a pretty clean entry, pretty clean exit for the driver of the number 13 Chevy. As he'll move along here, we'll see if anybody's willing to gamble and can beat him off the pit road. But it looks like smooth sailing here as Harry Codian going to win the race off pit road, and he'll be followed by the 77 of Roy and Gary Moore. So at least in our top 3, most of the things are the same as we exit pit road.
Absolutely right. Top 3 going to stay exactly the same as looking back here to got the race out here. 4th Pete Sorensen, 4th off pit road. Caleb Lingle going to be Keith McLean now. So now we'll Caleb back in the race for the top 5. I look back here. Where did the 28 car come out? It looks like he had a terrible pit stop. Technical happens. It looks like he's going to be back in about 12. So mistake on pit road. Maybe a tire, maybe a lug nut jam or whatever. Disaster strikes at 28. All that track mission, he ran back down. He's going to have to do it all again. And the problem is now we're running out of laps to do so. Only 24 left. So Keith's got work to do. Tough break.
No doubt about it. We'll see if there's something that kind of explains that. It just looked like a slow exit. That's really all I can look at. I'm looking at a replay of it here on my screen. Looks like the right sides go up. Everything's fine there. The left sides go up, and looks like everything is good there, perhaps. And sometimes this will trick a couple of people. There may have been a little bit of damage on the right side of the car. Sometimes you can't see it, but sometimes you go to your F9 menu. If you're driving in this game, you won't really realize it, but there will be some damage that the crew will try to fix. Maybe he didn't expect that. That's really the only thing I can guess happened, and he had to click that off before he was allowed to take off from pit road, and unfortunately for him, that may have cost him some spots. Again, that's just a diagnosis from up here in the booth, but at least from the experience I have driving in this game, I know I've done that a couple of times, and it can bite you if you're not ready for it.
You are absolutely correct, and yeah, we've been on the wrong end of that many a times as well, so we kind of know as we look back here, as we get back on the track here, as it looks like we had a little bit of a gremlin, I guess you could say, down there in the trailer. Jack had looks like a little bit of emergency lost signal there for a second, but he is back in. But the only sad part about that, Blake, and as you know, doing this for a long time with, us and Joe and whatnot, but you fall out of the game, you sometimes lose a ticker, and I think that's what we've encountered here again, so I don't think we'll be able to grab that thing back. So unfortunately, it looks like we're going to have to do our best up here in the booth now to keep our drivers abreast of lap count and positioning on the racetrack. So sucks for Jack, because it was looking good, it was doing good, but whatever reason, it decided to crash out. Thankfully, it was under yellow, so we didn't miss no green flag racing, but it's going to make our job a little bit harder now.
No doubt about it, Phil, but I'm sure we're up to the task. And why aren't we at it? We'll go ahead and give you a full rundown here of the leaderboard. Keller is going to be in first. Of course, he's staying out, and I'm assuming that he'll eventually come down pit road here. Harry Codian is in second. Kevin Roy in third. Gary Morin in fourth. Caleb Lingle, he rounds out the top five. The 59 of Sorensen is in sixth. Brett Carter, he's running in seventh. Ricky Johnson has rebounded to eighth. Maverick, he holds the ninth spot, and rounding out the top 10 is the 03 of Danny Hardy.
11th is Clifton Ashley. 12th is Keith McLean. 13th we find Steve Rubino. Ron Simpson runs 14th. Rick Craddock's number 20. He rounds out the top 15, but Steve Grant running in position 16. Randy Smith, teammate, is 17th. Jessica Kalis is 18th. Rich Snappick is 19th, and Ricky Bumblelow, the number 85 Gas Monkey Machine, rounds out our top 20.
The 21 Gibson Dodge, driven by Bob Gibson, is running in 21st. Jason San Diego, car 22, is in place number 22. Pushrod, he is running in 23rd in that 17 machine. Herman Rice, he'll get back on the lead lap, but he's running in 24th. The 029 of KJ Kilojoules is in 25th. The 44 of Rubino, he's in 26th. Brendan Spadafora, he runs 27th. Ralph Pauly, he's fallen back to 28th, 2 laps down. The 29, that is Manny D, where he is in the 29th spot, driving the 710 car. He is 3 laps down. And, of course, as we mentioned earlier, Ryan Johnson in 30th has retired and gone behind the wall, as well as the 50 run of Roger Nebelsick, who is in 31st. So that's your full race rundown here as we get set. Here on lap 44, we'll be getting the green flag here for lap 44 to see if we can't go this last 20 laps green. A couple of guys elect to come down onto pit road as we get the 1-to-go signal. I'm sure they're looking at fuel mileage, Phil.
I got to imagine so. I was just thinking that myself as we're 43 laps of 64 in. We thought pit window would be somewhere around 19, 21, maybe if you eke it out 22. That is right on the cut. So these drivers that may have come in to top off, maybe in the catbird seat, the drivers up front like Cody Ann, Kevin Roy, Gary Moore, and Caleb Lingle, Duke Sorensen making up our top 5. Well, it may be, I can't imagine. Is there any possible way not coming in there with about, 3 laps under yellow? I know you're clutching under the caution. You're saving all you can, but how much can you possibly save there clutching under yellow in a place like this? Can you save even up to a quarter of a lap, just under a 3-lap yellow flag?
Well, certainly. I'm sure you can save about anywhere from half a lap to about 3/4 of a lap if you're really persistent about it. I know usually I'll run in 3rd or 4th gear so the RPMs don't turn up too much, and obviously you're clutching pretty much all the way around this racetrack, but unfortunately we're going to restart with 21 laps to go, and I think that about lap 20 is where you're going to cut it off, so I wouldn't be surprised here once we get the green flag if we're going to see a lot of guys clutching as we enter turns 1 and 3 especially. You can kind of use that run down these long straightaways to kind of clutch it into 1 and 2. Can't really clutch it if in turns 2 and 4, just because there's not a whole lot of time to gain on that north chute. But wouldn't be surprised if some of these guys that topped off may be in a good spot here to try to make it all the way to the checkered flag.
Yeah, absolutely right. And let's see if we can make that run from here, because we're on pit road here with the pace car. We're looking for the iRacing I flag, green flag to go back in the air, and I think we're about to get it. I don't know where I ended up, but there we are. We're back. Green flag as it unfurls over the field. Harry Cody and Kevin Roy, they lead this hungry crowd of, 25 on the lead lap as we head toward turn 1.
And Cody Ann, what a great restart. He gets a launch into turn number 1 all by himself. He leaves Kevin Roy and Gary Morin in the dust for now. Caleb Lingle, he's made his way up to the 4th spot, and then the 59 of Sorensen will round out the top 5. Again, these guys moving single file, but Harry Cody Ann, what a great launch he got off that restart.
He certainly did. And talk about some of the gamesmanship that we can play on these restarts, especially here with a single file, because I was on top of the 113 car of Caleb Lingo running in 4th, and he was like 3/4 throttle gaining, at the opening of pit road versus Cody Ann. He was still going along the other guys ahead of him. Well, Caleb, I believe I want to say, and I can't confirm this, but it looked on my end because he was so far in the throttle, it looks like he was almost laying back from 4th. What are some of the gamesmanship things we can do here with these cars on the restarts, and at what point does that become, something that somebody may say, hey, complaining you can't lay back on a start like that? Because I feel like he was really about a good half second behind a 3rd-place runner. Some of the games we can play here, Blake, I guess on these restarts that we can still do in this 16-year-old sim.
Oh, no doubt about it. Any driver's going to try to get every advantage they can. Of course, I'm guilty of doing it myself. You want to just kind of lay back a little bit on a restart, and then obviously before the green flag flies, maybe get a little bit of a running start, if you will. Of course, there's kind of a line you can cross, and perhaps Caleb Lingle did that. We'll just have to see what the game rules, what the admins rule. They have full control over this situation, but at least for now, Lingle, he'll run along in 3rd. They're still all chasing Harry Cody into 1, but trouble on the front straightaway. The caution flag is out once again. It looks like it's a big wreck in turn number 1.
Oh, man, is it ever. We have a parking lot over in turn number 1. We have multiple cars all tore up. Lots of smoke and stuff, even cars wrecking down more toward the start-finish line. So this one's going to be quite a show here, as I see guys like Ricky Bumblow around, and I think there's even more to show. A big parking lot. Going to get Jack to work with a BladeNo.com full velocity instant replay, or maybe not. There is looks like the issues we had a little while ago are going to keep us here from getting a replay out there. So we'll put Jack to work and see if maybe we can't regain the overlay, or whatever we can do for us as our ticker and whatnot has kind of gone haywire. But yellow on the racetrack, and it's stacked up in about mid-pack, and I think it started somewhere around the 85 car, and I'm not sure. He had smoke there, Blake. I think he may have blown up in the straightaway, and I'm not exactly sure what kind of went from there.
I'm looking at the replay, and I think there's a little bit of kind of a falling out from the 59. Sorensen was running along in 5th. Everything's so far so good on the front straightaway. And then I think his car kind of starts to warp out. It looks like it's almost kind of merging into the wall, into the sands a little bit. So it looks like that is what caused our issue. Because again, you think that, on the long straightaways here at Indianapolis, these guys that have had a really clean race, they can handle that. Well, unfortunately, when Sorensen's car's dancing around like that for a reason we don't know, perhaps could be a bad internet connection or a window comes up or something like that. Unfortunately for Brett Carter, that gets him all out of shape. The 193 of Ricky Johnson, he has nowhere to go. He gets into the back of Carter. And the one thing about Indianapolis, especially here on the front straightaway, there's not a lot of room because of that pit road wall that kind of condenses the track. So it just creates really a chaos here, a bit of a junkyard here in turn 1 as Ricky Johnson is around. The 66 is involved. Danny Hardy eventually gets involved in it. And then there's a good job by the rest of this field checking up and making sure they didn't plow through that 193 who was sitting on the track. But a bit of an odd situation here with the 59 of Sorensen puts us under the yellow flag once again. But we'll go ahead and look forward to pit stops. Every single car has come down pit road except for Harry Cody and I believe Rubino as well. He stayed out on the racetrack.
Yeah, they did. Whatever my scoring that we saw Cody in the lead shows it back all the way in 19. So I'll have to go back there and see if he may have had a piece of the unit here. I can't imagine he did, but it shows him behind the pace car. I don't know if he had a connection to warp or whatever, but he has scored the race leader, as you said, and believe himself and Danny Rubino have not come to pit road, but I believe Bino on the lead lap in the 44 as I'm trying to run up and down the screen. Bino is on the tail end now, on the tail end of the lead lap, so maybe a wave around coming in the 44 camp. Whatever happened to the 13, I'm not exactly sure. I'll have to go back and take a peek there, but Harry was the race leader. It certainly didn't score him as a race leader last time around.
He will be, but we'll again see this race off of pit road, see what guys are able to take advantage. It looks like Steve Grant, he may have been the first guy off pit road. I believe it may have been a two-tire stop for the driver of that 11 Pontiac. That could really work out for him, as he was P11 the last time he crossed the stripe, and he'll gain a lot of positions out of that. Behind him, Gary Morin, Caleb Lingle, Kevin Roy, Maverick, Keith McLean is your order running off of pit road. But how about the call from Steve Grant, taking two tires, making sure he can get to the end? And the other thing I'm noticing, Phil, here as we continue to move forward, it is dead silent here on the back straightaway. All these guys that are pitting, they are no doubt pushing that clutch pedal, trying to save all the gas they can.
You absolutely can hear it back there. Dead silent is a big kudos to Jack. I look up and the ticker is back working. Jack is the man under the yellow flag. Get all the stuff back to go. Who is better than Jack out there? Really thankful he's out here with us on Tuesday nights as our partner in crime, our co-director Todd Stanton, who's usually at the controls for us a lot of nights. Well, really has been recently. He's unfortunately been assigned the evening shift at his job here on Tuesday, so I don't think we're going to hear from Todd on a Tuesday night for a little while. So really thankful Jack's here. Thankful to have the talents of the King of Sling, the Mouth of the South, whatever nickname you want to give him, the sweet sounds of Blake McCandless with us. Love having Blake up here in the booth. All the insight he provides on one of these broadcasts. Absolutely one of the best in the business as well. So really thankful he's come a part of the Full Velocity family as well. But this one here has tore up a lot of race cars, likes of Ricky Johnson, Danny Hardy, Ricky Bumbalo go behind the wall. But I'm still trying to update Blake. You did a good job covering pit stops. I am trying to figure out what peculiar whatever happened to figure out why Harry Codian was all of a sudden scored out of the race lead. And I'm still working on that mission as we speak.
You know what? I think I just noticed that too, Phil. I don't really know what's going on. Is Harry Codian still riding behind the pace car? No reason that he should be a lap down. Perhaps it's just a scoring error or something like that. It's showing him on the tail end of the lead lap. I'm sure they'll somehow find a way to get that fixed. Maybe he glitched across the line or something and it disallowed a lap or something like that. I imagine that they'll fix that, but unfortunately for Codian, that may not be the case. I'd hate to see that, because obviously he retained the lead. Although he stayed out, he'll be kind of disadvantaged once we get this long run here in terms of tires and fuel. But I would really hate to see Codian kind of lose the lead on a situation like that. That'd be tough to see.
That would really be tough. But yeah, I'm just kind of back here watching on the replay. I see the yellow out. I see the wrecked race cars. I'm seeing the race leaders down the back straightaway, 13 leading the field, and I just don't see us. I'll watch the replay here and I'll let you keep us abreast if a pace car is starting to come in or whatnot. But I'm back here just watching here through my replay what I can see, and I see a little bit of a blurb out there for a second, but I didn't think it was enough to maybe cause a scoring issue. So I don't know. We'll see what these guys decide to do. I know these things like we really all can't control, but oh yeah, absolutely indeed. The 13 blinked out right before the start-finish line and did not reappear till well down in turn one. So you blink across the finish line, it can sometimes do that. And in Harry Codian's case, that's exactly what happened. He was blinked out of the server. Game did not register him down off at a turn one. So that is a tough break. I don't think we can. I don't think you can really fix that.
Well, I hope you can. I know there's a way that I think they could add him a lap back. They'd have to do it manually from the admins, but again, we'll see what's to come with that. It's really unfortunate if they're not going to give him his lap back. He's run well and has run up at the front for the entirety of the last couple of green flag runs that we've seen. He's had a really strong car all night. We'd hate to see it, but again, we see them cross the stripe and he's going to actually have to take the wave round. So a really tough break there for the driver of the 13 Chevrolet. He'll have to take the wave around, but it cycles through to allow the 25 of Ron Simpson. And how about Steve Grant? He took two tires on that last pit stop. I believe the 25 Simpson Chevrolet elected to stay out. So old Goodyear tires on that machine. We'll see how it works out and how the rest of this field is able to handle those guys up front here as we continue to wind things down.
Absolutely right. It looks like lights are out around this 2.5-mile Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We are on lap number 50 of 64. The great news is we have a ticker back scrolling. The bad news is when that happens, it doesn't pick up the scoring telemetry. When it falls out, once it loses it, it comes back into race mode. It tells it that the race is complete, and it certainly is not. Fortunately, we can't fix that on the screen, so we'll keep you abreast of what the lap count is, but it is currently 50 of 64. The race leader is Ron Simpson, the number 25, leading over Steve Grant. It is Caleb Lingo running in third with Gary Moore in fourth. Kevin Roy making up the balance of the top five. Maverick having a great night running in sixth. Caleb Lingo, or Keith McLean is seventh. Steve Rubino, eighth. KJ Kilojoules up to ninth, and Rich Napick, a guy who's been very quiet all night long. Rich has now finally found himself in the sixth car. He rounds out the top 10, so it looks like the 13. Tough break for Harry. He's going to have to take the wave around to get back on the lead lap. That is really going to set him behind because you know he had a good car. You know now he's going to be short on fuel. You got to imagine it's going to be tough for him to save from here, but the most precious thing he lost, Blake, is track position. Harry Cody is going to have to restart all the way back in 20th. That completely stinks.
Yes, it does. He's going to have to hope for a quick caution, try to get some fresh tires and see what he can salvage out of a day like this. But as the pace car exits and heads onto the pit road, we're going to turn the race over to Ron Simpson in the 25. The first laps that he's led tonight, he's followed by Steve Grant, Caleb Lingle, Gary Morin, and Kevin Roy as we approach lap 51 of 64. The green flag is out, and Ron Simpson will come down to the yard or bricks and take them into turn number one.
Yeah, absolutely right. And he's got Steve Grant right in his tire tracks down to the corner, and Caleb Lingle's 113. Oh, 11 gets really loose. Has to really check out of it. Now contact for the back of the 113. Caleb Lingle in the back of Steve Grant. We have another parking lot over at turn number 1 and 2. Yellow flag back on the racetrack, and I can see that happen down to the corner. The 11 car got really loose. I'm not sure if he had to check up with 25, but he got all sorts of squirrely, and I'm not sure as much Caleb Lingle can do, because if you stab the brakes in that part of the corner, the car is usually going to take off. I think he tried to drag it. Wasn't enough time. He gets in the back of the 11 car. They go around, and unfortunately, Blake, it slows the action back down to lap 51, a chain reaction, and it happens right in the front of the field as Jack comes back with a BladeNo.com instant replay. I'm not sure what to make of that one.
Well, I'm pretty sure what to make of it. It looks like Steve Grant, those two tires, probably those left sides are a little bit cold. He actually kind of hits the apron here at Indianapolis. That's a treacherous place to be. He gets a little bit loose. Caleb Lingle, he tried his best to back out of it. He slowed down quite a bit. Unfortunately, he still tags the 11 of Steve Grant, and Gary Morin had nowhere to go, so he gets in the back of Caleb Lingle. He goes hard into the outside wall off for turn 2, nose first, and unfortunately not a whole lot of room once things gets going. He comes back down into Maverick. They're involved in this accident. Heavy damage on the 40. The 029 is involved. Rubino, he's in it. Napick tags a car or two. Randy Smith is involved as well. Again, a junkyard here off the exit of corner number 1. It goes into corner number 2. Several cars. It's hard to name a couple of cars that weren't in this thing, but unfortunate for everybody involved. A wreck up front. We've seen it at Indianapolis before. It can be devastating, and that's another example of it right there.
Absolutely right. And who the short end of the stick is going to get? An innocent bystander, the number 40 of Gary Moore, who was up in the top 5. That car absolutely destroyed. The night for the 40 camp is going to be done. Going to relegate him all the way back to, it looks like, about a 25th place finish. So that just shows you, something of not even your own doing, a checkup up in front, a carnage of a wreck up ahead, and you just got nowhere to go, get swept up. Tough break for Gary Moore, a guy who joined the ranks of the series probably about a month ago, was having another great one out there, and it ends, unfortunately, a little bit too short. 53 of 64 on the board. And just going back and watching the replay, Blake, we saw the 113 in the back of the 11. He also made a pretty good tag on the outside wall in the middle of 1 and 2 there in the chute. So you can't imagine maybe the 113 may have maybe picked up some damage to the right side of that car. If there's any there, how do you think it's going to affect the way that thing handles?
Well, he definitely picked some up. I can't imagine with realistic damage that he wouldn't have some on the right side. It wasn't too hard a contact, though. I think that Blue Jay Ford is tough, and he may be able to wait this one out. I don't think he's going to be slowed significantly. You have to think he's in a pretty good spot. He's behind Ron Simpson, who, of course, is still on old tires and probably will be for the rest of this race. So if Caleb Lingle can make quick work and get by that 25 machine, you think he has to be sitting in a really good spot as long as there's not another yellow flag. So if I'm Caleb Lingle, it's too late to pit and lose all that track position. If there's a little scuff on the right side, well, you may just have to deal with it.
And turnabouts may be fair play for that one as well, because you look at guys now like Keith McLean with a disastrous pit stop, a guy like KJ Keeler-Jules who's a lap down, Jeff Stakanis was as well. And those guys make up the back part of the top 10. And this race now completely comes into view because 10 laps at Indy, that's 25 miles. That's a long way around. We still have a lot of racing left to go. This race could still be won by anywhere, probably in the top 15, I would imagine.
Oh, no doubt, Phil. You have to imagine here if 5 or 6 laps go by and the caution flag flies, well, tires are still kind of important. So if you're Caleb Lingle at that point or Kevin Roy and you're sitting up in the lead and you decide to stay out, well, that could come back to bite you. I know how painful it can be to be out front, have tires matter, and you're the leader coming down to the last restart and you just don't know what to do. If you pit, everybody's going to stay out. If you stay out, everybody's going to come down and pit. So you're never really in a good spot if we get a late yellow here. We'll just have to see if that happens, if we can get a lot of what we saw earlier in the night, which was a lot of green flag racing, or if we're going to have some more trouble with some guys up front here. Again, the light's still on the pace car, so it looks like we're getting the 2-to-go signal this time by, again, lap 54 of 64 here on the board at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We're going to restart with about 9 laps to go when we get the green flag. And, of course, I believe unless Ron Simpson pits this time by, he's going to be the guy that's leading this field.
Yeah, absolutely right. And I can report to Gent Nation over here in YouTube, you can be happily to know it is Brendan Spatafora's number 37 going to get the lucky dog. Brendan back to the lead lap, running back there in 19th. Makes me feel good there, Blake, because I was out here an hour earlier. 37 car we got here, that thing was completely off. And I was watching him. Brendan's a buddy of ours, a good sponsor to us, a good friend of mine as well. We were out there, kind of peeking at it. Well, we were throwing a couple of double setups at that car, and it picked up a little bit. We picked up about a half a second over the course of practice, but we never could find the speed of that 37 car to go fast. So Brendan back to the lead lap. Makes me feel good. Phil's crew chief responsibilities, tweaking on one of these open sets. Maybe not so good. He said the car's been tight, been plowing all night long. Thankfully for it, the efforts back of the lead lap. I guess I could take that one as maybe a half a win for the night.
No doubt about it,
We
Phil.
tried.
We definitely tried, and that's what it's all about, right? But we'll go ahead and we'll kind of tell you guys who will not be making any more laps after that accident in turn number 1. It claimed Randy Smith. He has gone behind the wall. That car is done for the day. It looks like Gary Morin, he also sustained some heavy damage in that accident, and he will finish in what looks like the 25th spot tonight. So move the total of cars that will not see the checkered flag in this race. There's 6 of them. You have Randy Smith, Gary Morin, Ricky Johnson, Danny Hardy, Ricky Bumbleow, and actually make that 7 with Ryan Johnson and Roger Nebelsick, who will not make it to the end of this thing. We also saw Clifton Ashley pull off earlier. He has not retired from the event, but is still listed as 10 laps down in 29th. But this field's starting to shorten up here a little bit after that huge accident in turn 1.
Absolutely right. I'm going to give an attaboy out there. A guy I haven't talked about all night long. He's a buddy of ours as well as a lot of these guys at Hobo are. How about the run for Rob Keller in that number 57? Haven't said Rob's name much all night. You look up there with 10 to go, Blake. That 57 car rides in 6th spot. That is a hell of a night here in Indy. Rob Keller, buddy, good job, man. We're rooting for you. That is awesome to see. Also, the pushrod, Bob Becker has found his way in the top 10. Pushrod sitting in 8th spot aboard car number 17. So 2 drivers we don't talk nearly enough over here, Hobo, about up in the top 10. Just want to make sure we acknowledge, Blake, those 2 drivers having a hell of a run. We'll see if they can't hold on with 10 laps remaining here as we get ready to go back green.
Well, you think of a guy like Pushrod, who was just a couple of cautions ago, he was spinning, was able to control that car, get some damage fixed, and now has an opportunity to get a solid top 10 or a top 5. So a solid job by those guys persevering and trying to stay in this race. And of course, you mentioned Keller. Of course, you mentioned a couple of other guys up here in the top 10 who have just done a good job all night of avoiding the carnage, and now they have their time to pounce as we're on lap 55. We'll take lap 56 of 64 with the green flag. So again, 9 laps remaining when we get the green flag. Ron Simpson going to lead us to green, and as you mentioned, a lot of guys feel like this is their chance with a couple of late restarts to try and make something happen.
Absolutely right, and it was about 25 laps ago we mentioned the name Herman Reese, the points leader. He was a lap down to the field. He has quietly found his way back to the lead lap. Herman Reese, the number 73, the Cadillac is up to the 10th spot, so what looked like maybe a night upside down for Herman, as well as him and who am I talking? KJ, Keela Jules, those guys racing for a regular season championship. Herman running 10th, KJ running in 12th. Somehow Herman has snuck his way back in. No surprise at all to see a guy who has won just billions of races over the years, it feels like, at number 73. He'll restart inside the top 10 as we get ready to go back racing. Pace car is in. The starter looking over the field. The Ron Simpson going to lead us back to the iRacing I flag, green flag. It's up in the air.
Well, it is, and look at the run that Caleb Lingle gets to the inside. The 25 will lead it across the stripe, but going down into Turb 1, Caleb Lingle, he'll easily clear that 25. Kevin Roy, he'll pounce as well. Kevin McLean looking to make a stake as well. Jason San Diego, he'll try to dive down to the bottom of that 28. He has to check up, but Ron Simpson fading quickly here is Caleb Lingle, your new leader once again at Indy.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Blake, that good run there we just saw, well, it's going to slow down once again because a yellow flag has greeted us back onto the speedway. Yellow, yellow, yellow on lap number 56. And looking back at this one, and this one may not be too popular. There's a couple of guys over here at Hobo you hate to see wrecked up in this one. And as the Jack will go back with a BladeNo.com instant replay. Oh, man, this one happened right in the mid part of the field. And I believe the Rubino family may have had a piece of this one, as we'll let Jack go back and take a look at this one. It was racing on the back part of the top 10. We just talked about Pushrod. We just talked about Rob. Rob avoided this one, but Pushrod and Danny Rubino, well, they did not. They somehow come together. Steve Rubino's 21 car getting involved. It is a wild wreck, and Jack's going to show this off on a BladeNo.com instant replay. The Rubinos were having a solid night, Blake. Until now, you get all the way out here to under 10 laps to go. I know Ann and Barbara, the ladies out there, were happy tonight. They were doing good. It's kind of gone south on them. That stinks.
Well, again, there was that accident in turn number 1, but you have to remember, under 10 laps to go, these guys will race to the flag. It looks like on the restart, Herman Rice was able to get, I guess, the hood ornament of that Cadillac out to the outside of Pushrod. Not a ton of room right there, but of course, with under 10 laps to go, he's going to keep it in the gas. That causes them to come together. It involves both of the Rubino cars. The 029, KJ is able to avoid it. But then you have to look forward into turn number 2 after the caution flag is already out. These guys are racing back. Herman Rice gets into the grass off the exit of turn 2. He runs into what looks like the 61 of Ralph Pauly. It brings Napick into that. So the 61 of Pauly, he goes flipping end over end down the back straightaway and to the inside wall. There's smoke billowing out of his car. So kind of 2 incidents here in the going here at Hobo, unfortunately for these guys. And many of these guys who have been running all race long trying to put together a solid run. A lot of carnage here as we enter turn 1 and turn 2 here at the end of this thing.
Yeah, and Blake, I have a big breaking story here from Pit Road as we saw the 61 of Ralph Pauly involved. His night going to be done, as is too the number 28 of Keith McLean, just pulled behind the wall. The 28 with Texaco Havoline car was up in the top 5. Something went awry there through that wreck. Keith McLean's night with 28 is done. He pulls it behind the wall, and I believe I just saw Harry Cody Inns, number 13, pull behind as well. So we got some developing situations here. A guy's up in the front of the field. They're not going to see the end of this one either. That is a tough break for some really heavy hitters who are having terrific runs in Indy.
I was about to say, I don't know exactly what happened to Harry Cody in there. He was running in the 7th spot, pacing under caution, and he just pulled it off of turn number 1, locked it up, and just called it a night. So Cody Ann retired from the 7th spot. hate to know what's going on right there. But it's going to create an opportunity for some more of these guys to try and get a solid finish. We still have Caleb Lingle up front. Kevin Roy, he's been looking to pounce all night. He'll be in the second position. Jason Sandiego, what a rebound for him. Started up front, found his way in the back, and now he's running P3 for what's going to be our final restart. So a big shakeup here in the field. Not exactly sure what's going on with some guys pulling behind the wall early, but nevertheless, some of these guys looking to pounce on what looks like it's just going to be one restart to take all the marbles.
Absolutely right. And it looks like, Blake, I was doing some work here off camera, and the story from the 13 camp, a black flag was displayed to the 13 car for passing on the restart. Did not come and hear the flag, did not want to come serve the penalty, just locked it up, came down to, just locked it up and said, night over for the 13 car. So that's the story from Harry Cody Ann. Probably a guy who I can sympathize. I think you can too. Maybe feeling a little bit cheated there. The connection issue takes you out of the race lead. You have to overcome. You get a black flag maybe because of that deal. I just think for Harry. Harry's a buddy of ours. Good guy. Unfortunately, on just the wrong end of a bad situation all around. I'm sure he's frustrated. I guess that's the story that's put Harry Cody out of this event.
Well, you have to think maybe a black flag because of that, but also you have to imagine if he got a black flag for the restart and passing at the line, well, you have to imagine they're wrecking across the line. So unfortunately for Cody Ann, if that was the case, I don't think there's much that 13 could do to try to avoid getting a black flag because there's cars wrecking on the restart as he's crossing the line. So very unfortunate for him, but I think I got to agree, Phil. You kind of feel jaded right there, kind of having the connection issue cost you the lead, and then you couple it with that, just a black flag that is just irregularly timed. And unfortunately for him, he just decided to call it quits. And unfortunate for him, he had a great run and looked like he was set up in a position to have a great chance to win this thing, but unfortunately it's all for naught here tonight.
Yeah, and I can sympathize with that because I had a similar deal happen to me a couple nights ago here at this very same track, Indianapolis, and wasn't as far as a black flag was concerned. It was one of those pesky, I pulled one of those, take the green flag, go down to the turn number one, and don't even make the corner maneuvers and wreck half the field. And some leagues out there would justify that and call that a restart. I'm not going to name the particular league it was at, but the guy pushing the buttons for us tonight has a very staunch rule. There is no restarts. It kicked me in the can. I felt a little bit cheated as well as I guess it was my own stupid mistake, but qualified fifth, had a good car, practiced all night, got half a corner out of it. Some things happen you don't agree with. I feel bad for Harry. Been there myself, and gives me a chance to say, Jack, we love that no restart rule, buddy.
Well, at least the one thing about the no restart rule, it doesn't discriminate, and I think that's the reason that perhaps it's probably the best rule out there. There's nothing impartial about it. You just don't restart, and then that's that. But fortunately, we're well into this thing as we now approach lap 60. The lights go out on the pace car, so no use in restarting this race. You can have that debate maybe in the first lap or two, but we're already at the last lap or two for this thing. We're going to restart here with 4 laps to go as we're on lap 60. We'll take the green at 61. We'll give you a rundown as, again, this field has shuffled around after a couple of incidents. Caleb Lingle, he's still in first. Kevin Roy is in second. Jason Sandiego in third. Keller, he's running strong and in the 4th spot. Jeff, and actually, Phil, I'm going to have you help me. Is it Stakeness or Stack?
Stuccanus.
Well, I apologize for saying that incorrect all night. Jeff Stuccanus, he'll round out the top 5. Ron Simpson, he restarted first last time. He'll restart 6th this time. The 029, KJ Kilojoules, he'll restart 7th. Pushrod, he's up in the top 10 in the 8th spot. Maverick is in 9th. And then Rick Craddock, he is up in the top 10. And he'll be in the 10th spot. Bob Gibson is in 11th. Steve Grant, 12th. Brett Carter, 13th. The 6th car, of Napick, he's in the 14th spot. Steven and the 2 Rubino cars, looks like that's going to round out the back of this field, as well as Herman Rice. Those are the cars that are on the lead lap. 15th, 16th for the 2 Rubino brothers, and then 17th for Herman Rice. So that's our field for what's going to be the final restart here from Indianapolis.
Yeah, we still got Brendan Spadafora out there. He is 1 lap down, currently running 18th. Duke Sorensen's still out there as well, 2 laps down. Manny D, 3 laps down. Those drivers looking to salvage a top 20 finish here tonight in Indianapolis. But who is it going to be to get the big one here as we're under 5 laps remaining, 60 of 64 on the board, getting ready for what is probably going to be, for all intents and purposes, the final restart of the night. Caleb Lingle, the pole sitter, he's had to overcome some stuff, lost some track position. Well, he has found it in the premium spot here late as we get ready to rock and roll. We're down the front straightaway awaiting that green flag to come out, and it looks like as we get down there, iRacing, I-flag, green flag, finally, that's a late one. Green flag back on the speedway. Caleb Lingle going to lead Kevin Roy down to turn 1.
A great restart by the 113 of Lingle. He'll look to push that advantage to a couple of car lengths here as we go through turn number 1. Kevin Roy and Jason Santiago trying to make it a race right behind him. They'll make some distance. Now several car lengths separate them in the top 3 from the 57 of Keller, who now has Stakanis right behind him.
Yeah, Stakanis is there. Blake, a yellow is on the speedway. This is going to be the race back to the flag. Can Caleb Lingle win the race back to the flag here? They're in 3 and 4, but will probably be for the final time. Or I guess we could say halfway green flag conditions. Kevin Roy running the second spot into turn number 3 and 4. We're going to race down the chute, 2 car lengths. The advantage looks like Caleb Lingle gonna win the race back to the start-finish line. I believe that's probably the last lap of green flag we have seen here tonight. I believe Caleb Lingle may have just unofficially picked up the win. Kevin Roy, Jason Santiago, Rob Keller, KJ Kilojoules comes across the line 5th. Just the Canis, Ron Simpson, Rick Craddock, Steve Grant, and Maverick, the top 10. Looks like issues here for the number 6 of Rich Napick. I think a motor may have went south. I don't know if it was because of an accident or that caused the accident. All I do know, Blake, 62 laps in. I believe this one's over.
Yes, unfortunately for Napick, getting into turn number 1, he was a little bit off the pace. He had heavy damage on that Harley-Davidson Chevrolet, but unfortunately in turn 1, that motor did give way, and there's a little bit of a shock factor when you lose a motor like that. Your RPMs sink down. It actually causes the car to get a little bit upset, and that's exactly what happened to the 6 of Napick. That engine rather goes up in smoke. It causes him to lose a little bit of control trying to get off the track, and unfortunately, because he was spinning near a couple of other cars, that brings out the yellow flag. So an unfortunate way to end it, unless you're the driver of the 113, Caleb Lingle, who will bring home the checkered flag here at Indy.
Yeah, it looks like so, but we got 2 very long laps of yellow here to still get through as we go back there to the replay. Rich Napick, as you said, unfortunately issues there in the 6 car. And my buddy up here from northeast on the opposite side of the state, but I believe, I think Rich maybe he's in New Britain or Willimantic. I have to figure that out. I think he's in the New Britain area, west side of the state, but we share the home state here in Connecticut. It's not very big as it is. Rich Napick, number 6 car. Looks like his night is going to be done behind the wall, and it looks like unofficially going to finish up probably about 19th or 20th. As we parade under the caution flag, 2 to go, going to be out this time for the 113 of Caleb Lingle. I've got somebody warping off of my screen. I got to get off that camera there. I think it was a 77 of Kevin Roy playing a little bit of games. I don't know what they're doing. They're playing in the, I hear the clutching deal. They're under yellow, they're clutching. Is there any possible way they're short from here? They all just came to pit road, about 15 laps left. Are they just playing shenanigans here? Are we just playing games under yellow? I mean, there's really nothing left to do besides just kind of tail 55 miles per hour behind the pace car.
I would think so. I'd be shocked if most of these guys, because we've had so many yellows, if you were short on fuel, you could save under yellow or you could have pit in either of these last couple of cautions. So I'd be really hard-pressed to find somebody who's out there actually hitting the clutch pedal for anything more than just for show at this point. Again, still 2 laps to go under caution, but again, I'd be willing to bet a lot of money, which actually I just checked today, the Miami Dolphins, 10,000 to 1 odds to win the Super Bowl. I'd be willing to bet that one of these guys is not actually clutching because of having to save fuel to get to the end here.
Yeah, they're probably a little against it, but I don't think I'm delirious. I know the blind announcer and Phil that he is. I'm pretty certain I'm seeing the 77 car, Kevin Roy, blinking. I think the aliens are having a little bit of a conversation with him. The Coors Light sponsorship on that thing, maybe the aliens want a beer. I don't think I'm going senile, Blake, although when you hit 40, I guess a whole lot of weird things happen. Jack says I'm all right, but I'm pretty certain that 77 car is blinking. That's why my game was jumping all in and out. I was in his car, and I thought I was having a spasm here for a minute.
Well, you can see the rest of the field giving him space. If you're Kevin Roy, you just want to get rid of whatever's ailing his internet connection and hopefully stay in the server. That's the last thing you'd want to see. And actually, this is a little bit of a fun fact. Back in 2009, if you can believe it, when I was 13 years old, when I started sim racing on NASCAR 2002, the very first race that I ever won, I was running in second with a lap to go, and the leader fell out and dropped his connection, and they ended up awarding me the win. That was my first ever win in sim racing, was off an issue like that. Obviously, for Kevin Roy, you hope that would be the case with Caleb Lingle, but it looks like Roy's connection here has stabilized a little bit. But a little bit of trip back into the history about, a decade ago that would have been. Back running Carolina Classic Racing on NR 2002. Wow. That's a bit of a throwback.
And it still is. I know Jon Snow and the gang, they're still out there at CCR doing it, so hope those guys are all doing well. And, man, that's a throwback there. To think, 13 in 2009, this guy's brilliant. Been doing this for a long time, as we all are. I think I've known Blake most of that 10 years, so by God, has it been that long? Holy smokes. It's a throwback in time. I remember back once upon a time, you talk about getting your first win. I'll tell you what I threw away. You know the old Mark Martin thing? Take the white flag and drive down pit road. I had won the TDR equivalent to a Daytona 500. I led the race back to the yellow flag with 2 to go. We were coming to we took the white flag. I went in the backstretch, Blake. I kid you not. I pulled over, hit the escape button. Didn't think anything of it when I seen the word retire. Hit the enter button. Done. Gave away the biggest one of my career that I didn't get. So those dumb things happen. You've got them handed to you. I gave them away, and I'll tell you what, I'll never forget it. I know Jack's never going to let me live that one down either.
Oh, no doubt about that. Again, wild things happen in this crazy sport of racing, but it looks like here, as long as Lingle, Roy, and San Diego don't, I guess, frick it up here on the last lap, it looks like that's the order they're going to finish in. And it was a good job by Caleb Lingle. Had to face some adversity and come back up through this field to eventually get back up into the lead. And once he took it from Ron Simpson here late in the going, he held it for good. So a strong effort by Caleb Lingle. He won last week. He'll win again this week in the last race before the chase. Solid drive from that 113 Ford, and the rest of these guys up here in the top 5.
Yeah, sir is. Well, they're coming off turn number 4. They're behind the pace car, but we've got the checkered flag in the air, and it is going to officially now be the 113. Caleb Lingle going to make it 2 in a row here at Hobo Racing League. Give the 113 the win. It's a long way down the straightaway. There he is under the flag stand. Checkered flag goes over the field. Kevin Roy going to grab second. Jason San Diego will get third. Rob Keller, an awesome run tonight with a 4th place finish. KJ Gila-Jules gets 5th. Jeff Stakanis, Ron Simpson, Steve Grant, Maverick, and Bob Gibson rounding out our top 10. Terrific race by these guys here. We're going to sort all the drivers out. We will talk to our top 3 on our post-race show next, presented by BladeNo.com. Give us about 30 to 45 seconds. We'll be right back at you here live on Facebook Live, YouTube, and Twitch TV. Don't go away. All right, back here live, Full Velocity Racing Network post-race show presented by BladeNo.com, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Caleb Lingle, tonight's big winner. We will go down to victory lane and talk to him, but I'm going to throw this over to my broadcast partner, Mr. Blake Michaela, so I believe he's going to catch up first with our 3rd place finisher tonight, the driver of car number 22. That'll be Jason San Diego.
Indeed, I've caught up with the driver of the 22 Dodge, and Jason, what a wild night it was for you. You qualified fifth, ended up overcoming a blown tire to get back up and finish in the top three. Why don't you try to describe your crazy night to us?
Lucky. Yeah, it's running decent. I stayed out that first caution. Maybe used up my tire a little more than I needed to. Blew a tire. Was running like 20th a lap down. Got back on the lead lap. All those cautions. It's a good race early. A lot of green flag laps, but I was lucky we had all those cautions at the end. I was able to get a bunch of spots when people wrecking in front of me, and two quick cautions at the end. I was able to keep the spot.
Yeah, I was about to say, Jason, kind of take us through that. You get down a lap. Obviously, you had to pit under the green flag, and just kind of take us through what's going through your mind right there. It's obviously a tough break. Don't see too many guys blow a tire just from running it out anymore, but that was kind of a testament to what you were saying. There was a lot of green flag racing earlier on tonight. Just kind of take us through. You're heading down pit road here at Indianapolis, which seems to take forever. You get trapped a lap down. What's going through your mind right then?
Yeah, it was. I was watching the tires, but it just went right away. No warning. Blew when I was entering the turn. Hit the wall. I had to get on the apron to go around turn four, so I wasn't on the track in the way. So that took an extra how many ever seconds. So I thought I was done right there, but lucky I stayed with it, kept going, and got lucky.
No doubt about it, Jason. Well, Jason, I'll go ahead and hand the mic off to you. Go ahead and thank anybody out there. Whether it's lucky or not, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. And go ahead and give a shout out to anybody who helped you get up to P3 tonight.
Yeah, I'll take it. Well, last time I got in trouble for not thanking my teammates, so I don't thank my teammates at Team Speedland: Wiley King, Steve Grant, Bob Gibson, Randy Smith.
Well, all right, guys, that'll be it for the driver, the number 22 Dodge. Jason San Diego gets a third place finish right before the chase starts. And Jason, we hope when this thing gets going, we're able to talk to you a couple of times over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
User was moved to your channel.
All right, going to give Blake here a second to run down and find the number 77. I believe he's going to have the driver of Kevin Roy. God, it's been a long
User
time
was
since
moved
Kevin
out
on
of
the
your
airways.
channel.
Blake, take it away, man. Terrific run for that 77 car tonight.
No doubt that Coors Light Ford was up front all night long. It just seemed like you weren't ever able to just quite get enough that you needed to go out and try to battle for the lead. But kind of take us through that entire race, because it seemed like from about lap 20 on, you were a fixture in this thing.
Yeah, it was tough to pass out there. You get really tight behind somebody, so it's backing up the corners a lot and getting pretty good runs, but it was extremely hard to pass.
Yeah, it certainly looks like it was hard to pass, and you think with some of the open setups these guys are running out here, there's room for opportunity. Whether some guys get off the corner or get in the corner a little bit better, but just did you really think some of those guys that were in front of you throughout the night, guys like Harry Codian and Caleb Lingle, do you think the setup was just kind of similar to what you had, or it was just really that hard? You kind of get in the corner, get that arrow tight. It's just hard to make anything happen.
Well, a little bit. Actually, Caleb and I were running the same exact set, so we are kind of even there. So it's basically all about your driving style at that point. And when I was behind Harry there for those 6 or 7 laps, it was just extremely. I would get a run on through the corner, but I just couldn't get the pass completed. Otherwise, I just probably wreck us both going into the corner.
Yeah, no, it's really hard to pass. You really have to get a tremendous run down the straightaway and probably have some drafting help to help you complete it. But Kevin, it was a great run for you tonight. I'll go ahead and hand the microphone to you and kind of thank anybody that got you up here on the podium finishing second tonight.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's certainly our best run of the year so far. I'd like to thank all my teammates, which Caleb is one of them, and the number four, Cliff Ashley, and a few other guys that weren't here tonight. So we've been working on setups really hard, and finally it paid off tonight.
Well, it certainly did. We hope that, of course, we're talking to you tonight, but of course the chase starts up here very soon. Next week is the first round of it, and Kevin, we hope that as the chase goes on, we wish you luck, and if we're able to talk again sometime, we'll look forward to it.
All right, appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
All right, that's the driver of the 77 Coors Light Ford, Kevin Roy. But Phil, you're with the guy that pretty much dominated this race from start to finish, and that's the 113 of Caleb Lingle, who enjoys yet another win here at Hobo.
Absolutely right. We have caught the driver of car number 113, Caleb Lingle. Man, a terrific job here tonight on a night where this racetrack was really, really quick, but slippery in its own right. You had to overcome some loss of track position, but you had a good piece all night long. Tell us all about your race car first and foremost.
The car was pretty good, especially the first 5 laps or so, but the track here was really eating up my tires, and I'd either get really pushy or I'd get a little loose on the exit, and I had to try to maintain that all run long, but it was quick overall. I think Keith had a little bit better car than I did. I was staying in front of him. He was just riding behind me there on the first part of the run, and he was pushing me, trying to make me make a mistake and wear my stuff out. But overall, it was pretty good. I was fell back at the back with that caution and just basically took my time to get up to the field. I was trying to maintain pace with Keith, and he got ahead of me, and then the caution came out. I got some track position during the yellow flag pit stops, and that's really what got me back up to the front was all the yellow flag pit stops and gaining spots on pit road.
Absolutely right. Your car was money on pit road. But we think back to just past halfway. We had that nice long green flag run. We got to just about a round of green flag pit stops. You were one of the guys who came in, got on pit road, got trapped behind but track position. Thankfully stayed on the lead lap. But what was the urgency like in that car, knowing as fast as it was? You started about 8th, 9th, back there about 10th. Had about 4 seconds to make up on the racetrack overall. How much panic was setting into you? How hard did you think you had to really run that race car, knowing how good it was underneath you?
Yeah, I thought the race was really over then because it's really hard to pass here. You almost have to wait for the guy in front of you to make a mistake off of 2 or 4, and you get to run down the straightaway. I thought I could maybe get up to maybe the top 5, but with all those cautions, it saved me. But I was really starting to worry and thought my chances kind of dwindled down quite a bit.
Well, you made the most of the situation. You got the track position back. You capitalized on pit road. You get the last restart up in the race lead. Caleb Lingle, 2 in a row here at Hobo. That is not easy to do, man. I give you the mic one final time as tonight's big winner, buddy. Take it away. Think of it like I think out there. Friends, family, sponsors, whoever it may be. The floor is all yours there, bud.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to say hello to my family and friends, everybody that's watching. Thank you to all my teammates and appreciate Balls Trucking for sponsoring, and it's been pretty fun over here.
Absolutely right. Well, there you have it, folks, on BladeNo.com. Victory Lane, car number 113, the Blue Jay Ford. Caleb Lingle, tonight's big winner, live on the Full Velocity Racing Network. And that will do it for us here tonight. This was a lot of fun, and hope you'll join us again back here next time at Hobo Racing next Tuesday night. I believe we roll into the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. That'll be a lot of fun. Hopefully, Blake, we'll see you back here next week. This is a lot of fun. It's been great to have you a part of the team here on Tuesday night. Adds a lot to the broadcast.
No doubt, Phil, and obviously it's just getting started. We have several weeks left. The chase is here, and obviously it'll be a great battle to see these guys kind of duke it out and what they're able to do here as we go down the stretch.
Absolutely right. Well, thank Blake for coming along. Thank Jack Truan for all his efforts tonight, even with the issues aside there, falling out, got the ticker back working. That's why Jack's the best of the best out here in the business. Full Velocity Racing Network. Also got to thank our great sponsors like Foyles Trucking, Hannibal Brecker Service, iRacing, iFlag, CCM Custom Designs. Got to thank BladeNo.com, South Texas Speedway, Montstar Productions, TDR Racing League, Hard Motorsports, Trash Panda Graphics, Eichstadt Wraps, and our buddy Brendan Spadafora over at Full Throttle with the Gent on YouTube. For all the gang here at the Full Velocity Racing Network, we thank you so much for watching. We will see you back here live tomorrow night. A twin bill over back at iRacing on the Dirt, DWR Wednesday Night Street Fights, and also the Hard Motorsports Draft Pack Truck Series Championship at the Homestead of Miami Speedway. Not there. We're in the trucks at Homestead tomorrow night as well. So 9 p.m. Eastern time for both. We'll see you back here live on your source for esports racing. Good night, everybody.